Look, I don't want to dive too much into it. I don't want to talk too much about it. We don't have to spend much time about it, but pandemic love. It's a little different being in relationships during this time. And I think it's a little, maybe we'll spend a little bit of time of talking about it, but
of course.
Some people are stuck together, I'm forecasting myself. I'm revealing myself stuck together. Some people are together and they can't leave. They don't want to leave. But they're stuck together and they can't leave. But you're spending some people are spending a lot more time together than they ever have before. Some people are really loving it. I can imagine other people not liking it. There's the number of marriages are going up as well as the number of divorces. So like all that activity is happening. How have you been feeling in this time of stuck love? How have you been feeling in this time of pandemic love?
How have I been feeling, or how have I and my clients and everybody been feeling? Well, or you want to know all about me and how I feel about you right now?
I'm totally not interested in knowing about that. Do you feel like, do you sense a sentiment with people like having difficulty dealing with it? I know when it comes to kids, I've heard that. When it comes to kids, around all the time?
So you've been saying something recently, which is, it's very hard to know what's going on with other people. We're used to doing events, right? Where we have a lot of people and we talk about things that are going on. We talk about personal development, our emotions and everything. And we haven't been doing that so much. And so the only exactly. We haven't been doing that at all, except myself, I've been having one-on-ones with clients. So that's the only information I'm really getting, other than maybe some articles here and there about, some stuff that's going on. But it's like, it's people in their private life. Like, we don't know. They can hear a little bit about us if you want. but I find it's like hard to understand, hard to really grasp, like, how is everybody feeling? I think we can more just think it through, and what do we imagine it would be like with all the different types of relationships that are out there. And there are so many different types of relationships, so many people who are, feeling differently about their partners, feeling differently about the people that they're with. So I guess we can sort of talk about that and talk about some of the solutions, to make it a little bit better if it's not necessarily as good as you would like it to be, which of course it's never going to be as good as you would like it to be, right?
Well, I think the first step is just recognizing and acknowledging that more or less everyone's having a difficult time. Everybody's dealing with a challenge, right? You shouldn't feel guilty about feeling like, oh, why can't I deal with my lover for 12 hours a day versus 4 hours a day?
Yeah.
Because if you go to a job and your lover goes to a job and you come back home at the end of the day, it's 5:30, 6 o'clock, and you eat together, you deal with the activities, whatever you have to do, deal with the kids, you go to bed, you're spending like 3-4 hours together, really together, and never mind the time that you're sleeping together. Now, all of a sudden, that's hiked up times 2, times 3, times 4. Don't feel guilty about the challenge that you might feel. Like maybe, I wonder if some people...
I don't know about guilt. Maybe some people feel guilt, but don't feel like you're abnormal in any way, or that you should be loving them more because you're with them more. Maybe guilt is part of that. Like, maybe they feel guilty because they don't love and enjoy that time as much as they think that they should.
That's right. That's what I was about to say. Like, you might feel like, oh, I should love this much. I should feel this way. Why don't I feel the same that I did before? And just accept, look, if you love your job, if you were at your job twice as much, would you love your job twice as much? I don't know. So just accept that we're dealing with challenges, and you might be like us, not knowing how other people are feeling and not being able to get into other people's heads and not knowing the space that's there. And so you might be by yourself. Maybe you're critical, maybe you're judging, maybe you're worried, maybe you're concerned. Maybe there is something to be concerned about, but just recognize that you're dealing with, we're all dealing with this challenge, and the way you are experiencing it is okay.
Yeah, absolutely. It sort of reminds me of myself and how I love. So I actually really felt a lot of, I don't know if it's guilt, but a feeling of, hey, I should be loving you more. Like, Peter and I have been together how many years? So
feels like 100.
Yeah, so maybe 15 years, maybe more even, honestly. I guess we'll do the
I'm a
calculations.
young man. I'm 22 years old, so.
But there was a little period of time, maybe a couple of years, couple of years where we weren't together. However, okay, so I've dealt with many challenges in my life. So self-esteem issues, self-love issues. When I was younger, I dealt with addiction. So that was like a teenage thing. But over the years, I've really been into personal development and working on myself, and that's how I'm able to coach people now. But over the years, even with Peter, and he knows this, I often felt that I didn't love him as much as he loved me, and that I wasn't loving in the way that people love, that there was something lacking. And so I was comparing myself, I suppose, to movies, to people that I know, to the way that I think people should feel about other people. And I think that that's something that could be going on with many people. So I'm happy to talk about it. For myself, what it has come down to and what I've realized is that I wasn't appreciating myself nearly enough. I was very self-critical, very hurtful to the way that I was seeing myself in the mirror. How I just judged myself a lot. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't have that appreciation, that seeing the qualities in the people, the person that I love, of choosing to see their good as opposed to looking at the things that I didn't like about them. So what I was doing is I was feeding into what I didn't like about Peter, what I didn't like about Peter more than I was appreciating and loving. And that's the exact same thing that I was doing with myself. Mm-hmm. The exact same thing that I was doing. Instead of seeing my qualities, appreciating myself, loving who I am, I was being harsh, being critical. Even if I would do something good, I'd be like, yeah, but it's not good enough. So that translated to the way that I loved and the way that I, appreciated Peter. And what I've done over the years is learn how to appreciate myself, love myself, see my qualities, be proud of myself, give myself the tap on the back. And that's exactly like when I started doing that, then it translated right away to you. It translated right away to recognizing your value, seeing the good things about you, mm-hmm. Being like letting go of the things that are less enjoyable and reshifting my focus and being like, okay, well, there's that. He stinks a little. No, that's not it. Well, I mean, there's that. I
stink a little bit.
Yeah, but
That's why it's really good that you're experiencing me on video. One day they're going to invent a technology where you're going to be able to smell what's happening there. And that'll be good for cooking shows and gardening, but it won't be good for Bad Guru Nightly. Don't turn on that feature for Bad Guru Nightly. The smell-o-vision. Don't do it.
So looking at the things that maybe I didn't prefer, right? The things that weren't as much as the things I didn't want so much. Mm-hmm. And then just shifting it to, but look at this, all these different qualities. And then practicing doing that, because it does take practice. If you're somebody who was dealing with stuff like I was, it takes consistency and a willingness to appreciate myself, appreciate him, appreciate myself, appreciate him. And so I imagine that people during this time are probably recognizing things like that with themselves, that they're more irritated, they're focusing a little bit more on the things that they don't like, right? Living in the same place with people, you see their bad sides, right?
Some of us don't have bad sides. Some of us have, a shade of gray here or there, but some of us are pretty awesome and spectacular. And then other people are like Sam. So I really like that. Just joking. It's actually been really good. What I wanted to mention while you were talking about this is the pressure cooker that is this situation mm-hmm. is sort of might be for some people a blessing in disguise. Mm-hmm. It sort of causes you to have this intensive experience to realize if this is something that you like or something that you don't like. There's a lot of acceleration of relationships that have occurred because of the pandemic, because people realized hey, wait, I do like spending, I used to be worried about living with this person. I used to be worried about spending all my time with them. But even now that I've spent all this time with them and not been able to spend time with others, right? So this is concentrated effect. Then you realize, oh, really, I'm not really that bothered or not annoyed or that afraid. I'm not really that irritated by what goes on. Look, there are things that you do that irritate me. But actually having you around more and more, there's far more things that I enjoy. And when you don't see the person as much, then the division of how much you experience that you find annoying and how much you like, in some cases, can actually be too even. Right? You're seeing somebody for a weekend, and the things you don't like and that you do like, they're there. But when they're there 7 days out of the week, then you might realize, oh, that irritating stuff occurs rarely. Like it might occur in a moment during the day, but then there's so many more hours where it's not the case. And so it really puts things into perspective. At least that's my experience.
Yeah, you have a chance to see more of who the person is.
That's right.
And as the person, we each also have that opportunity to show our best selves, right? To then make better decisions when it comes to interacting with our lover, right? We be more willful. We choose to do things that are kind for them or appreciate them more. Like we have that opportunity to really like shine, like make the efforts, because relationships are effort. You agree?
Relationships are effort. They're an effort worth making, right? And that's the hard part, choosing who to place your effort with. Sometimes you can fall into the category of always trying to find the grass is always greener, it's always better. That's another thing that's good with the pandemic. It kind of gets you kind of like stuck, but not stuck in a bad way. Like this is what you have to deal with. And I think in our society, there's a lot of throwaway culture. There's a lot of like, oh, it's not good enough. It's not perfect. I'm gonna replace it. You know. But when things become a little bit more
Swipe
irreplaceable,
left, swipe right. Which one?
Swipe left. So I don't. Swipe left is I don't like.
I don't do the swipe, so I don't know. It's been.
But it's harder. It's harder to do that. Like I don't know. Maybe it's not harder. I'm not out there dating or anything like that. Maybe people are connecting, but there is a sense of, you know, you have less options, and so you're either going to be miserable or you're going to find some way to make whatever you have work. And in some ways, I think that's a good thing. I think our culture is a little too quick to look for the perfect as opposed to making the perfect.
Yeah. And it also has to do with what I was saying before, the attention you're giving to their qualities versus the things that you don't like, right? If you're dating somebody, you're meeting somebody, and you're just paying attention to all the irritants, well, you're not going to like them. You're not going to fall in love with them if you're just irritated all the time. And if you're somebody who's irritated all the time, just in general, it's hard, because I know what it's like. I've been there, done that.
I'm actually irritated all the time. A lot of things bother me. In fact, one of the traits of an entrepreneur is to be interminably annoyed at everything, because you constantly have a mind of thinking, how can something be better? How can something be improved? Why isn't this better? Why hasn't someone improved this? So I do have this mentality that puts me in a state where I'm constantly annoyed about what's going on. And what I learned many years ago, is that I would never really, personally, looking at my life, I could never really succeed at diminishing my annoyances, because they were a key part to my personality. I like looking at ways for things to be improved.
But there's a difference between the way that you might do it and the way that I used to do it or can still do it.
I think the difference is what you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
It's not so much that you stop seeing or stop being annoyed. It's that you've amplified your appreciation so that it's at a greater level than your annoyances. So I can still be just as annoyed, but I have totally boosted up my ability to appreciate and my ability to love, therefore putting into sharper contrast, into real perspective, the negatives that I was feeling. So I don't mind being annoyed. Like if my annoyances were problematic, if I wasn't solution oriented, if I was just stewing in negativity, then it wouldn't be good. But when I'm annoyed, my impulse is then to ask myself, what can I do? How can things be better?
Yeah. So that's the difference that I was thinking. That's the difference that I was thinking is you can be irritated and annoyed and solution oriented, or irritated and annoyed and say, I want to get out of here. I don't like this. Is there another guy? Is there another girl? Is there somebody better who doesn't have all these things? Like, and maybe that is the solution.
And there absolutely is. You see, that's the problem when it comes to this, because
there's somebody better than me?
Come on, look.
For you?
Whatever car you're driving, whatever place you're living in, whatever city you love, whatever partner you have, whatever mother you have, there's a better one out there, folks. And sometimes you got to be willing to let go of what you got and go looking for it, okay? Nobody says you got to be where you got to be. But generally speaking, I think it's better to just love what you got and make what you got something that you want. I think it's my mom taught me. I remember I had this moment when I was a kid. How old was I? 12 years old, I think. 11, 12. And I had just found out, this is just like blew my mind, that 2 girls liked me. 2 girls liked me, and I like both of them.
Wow.
I like both of them. And one I was like sort of with, and then there was another one, and we weren't dating, but I was like, and then I found out this other one, and I was like, Mom, I like this girl, and then there's another girl, but there's another girl that I like, and I've always liked. And she's like, Peter, a bird in hand is worth 2 in the bush. It's like, what you got, if you like what you got, then like what you got. You keep wasting your time looking at, but the other one could be good. Like, if you don't like what you got, that's a whole other thing. But if you like what you got, you don't got to be hunting for more. And that lesson, that message really stuck in my mind. I recognized in that moment what I was doing to myself and how stupid it was. Like, it wasn't a problem that I had a girl that I like and another girl that I like. That's not a problem. That's not... Like, just choose choose the one that you're with, and like let that be the end of the story. And that's exactly what I did, and it really worked out. And almost every single time,
but it didn't really work out because she's not here.
I was 11 years old. What is it? It's not the 1930s.
I'm glad it didn't work out. I'm just saying.
But that lesson, that lesson that my mom taught me really helped me as I went through life, because there were many times where you want to sort of cut and run and let go of stuff, especially when it comes to relationships. That can be difficult. But
not with me.
Come on. You're worth 2 birds, okay? You're worth 2 birds. I'm looking for the 3 birds. That's what I'm looking for, She's a 2-bird girl. I'm looking for a 3-bird. No!
So weird.
Come on, I can't be romantic. You know me. I can't do that.
He is off camera sometimes.
Sometimes. Camera. No. I'm like, whatever, woman. That's who I am. No. Anywho, so yeah. Love during the pandemic. I think it can be a blessing, it can be a curse, but it's going to heavily depend on the attitude that you have. Look, maybe you're one of those situations where you realize, no, what's going on here isn't good, and I'm not with somebody that I want to spend time with, and I don't want to continue this. And maybe I only continued it before because it was easier for me to ignore it because I spent so little time with them. But now is the time for you to sort of recognize. It's difficult.
I think that's good too.
It's difficult because you're like, I'm going to leave my partner, and then I'm going to be, how am I going to meet people? I've talked to people like that. They're like, how am I going to meet somebody? Like, what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to go on Zoom dates? I don't know.
Well, people, some of my clients are doing like social distancing dating, walking outside, those types of things. So it is possible.
Yeah.
It's definitely possible.
For everybody who's watching this, if you're watching this after the fact, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that like so that we know you like the video, and make sure to share it with somebody if you like them. Hit that little bell so that you know when we go live. We upload videos, we got great content, we're doing wonderful things. Thank you everybody for watching.